You're joking, aren't you? It's the Teesside Chef.
Come on, everybody, let's do the twist. Actually, when was the last time anybody did the twist? Well, I have today with this amazing Nutella twist bread. So let's do the twist, and it goes like this. So come on, baby, let's get into it with 500 grams of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of salt, 75 grams of sugar, and a sachet of dried instant yeast, and that's about 7 grams. And as always, when I'm making bread, I'm giving these dry ingredients a little stir before going in with 225 millilitres of lukewarm milk, 50 grams of melted and slightly cooled butter, and a beaten egg. And what I'm making here essentially is a light, slightly sweet brioche bread dough. So now all the ingredients are in, and that was easy, wasn't it? I'm going to give them a bit of a thrashing before mixing them all together in my stand mixer. And you want to knead this dough for around 10 minutes, but if it's looking a little wet like this, just add an extra teaspoon or two of flour to the mix. And I have started this recipe off quite wet, so you can tinker with it if you need to. The size of your egg or the absorption rate of your flour can affect the consistency of your dough. So if you start off a little wet, you can easily adjust during the mixing process to give you the perfect texture where the dough is just pulling away from the bottom of the bowl while mixing, just like this. And before that dough changes its mind, I'm drizzling some oil in at the end of the mixing process so I can get this out more easily, and my bowl is a bit of a bomb site. So I'll use some of that oil in there to oil a separate clean bowl to pop this dough in, and I'm sort of going to fold it around into a smooth ball before the first rise, but you'll need to cover it first, of course, with some cling film before leaving in a warm place for 90 minutes to 2 hours. And it does take a little longer to double in size than normal bread dough because of the butter and egg, but it will eventually get there, so don't panic. And as you can see, here it comes in now, and I'll shape that into a bit of a rectangle so I can cut it into 4 equal pieces. And I actually did go and weigh these to make sure they were perfectly portioned, because I'm a right teacher's pet, me. So I'm going to roll these up into smooth balls and let them rest for around 20 minutes to half an hour. I'm not looking for them to rise necessarily. I'm just letting the gluten in the dough relax to make the rolling out process a little easier, because this dough will want to keep bouncing back as you roll it out, and you'll see why that's a problem later. And while they're relaxing, I'm preparing a baking sheet lined with baking paper, and now I'm going to bring in another piece of baking paper, and I have a dinner plate here which is going to come in real handy for this recipe. I'm drawing a circle around this plate, but don't worry about getting ink on your bread, because I'm flipping this over before anything touches it, aren't I? Because we're using this bit of paper to roll our dough out on. And I also have 300 grams or thereabouts of Nutella, which I've softened slightly with a 10-second burst in the microwave. And while I was getting all my ducks in a row, the dough balls have had a chance to chill out, so now I'm going to roll them out. And the reason I drew that circle on the paper is because we want to make sure that the dough is bigger than the dinner plate that we used there, because we're going to use that plate as a sort of a template for our Nutella twist bread, you see. So I actually think I've been really clever drawing that little circle there to make sure that I roll the dough big enough. So once the first one is done, we can pick it up and lay it carefully on our prepared baking sheet stroke baking paper. And here's the plate again, and we need to press that down onto the dough. This will help anchor the dough and also give us our twist bread outline. So let's plop 2 tablespoons-ish of Nutella on top of that first piece of dough and spread that around to the edges where the plate marks are. Make sure that your Nutella isn't too runny when you do this though, or you'll have a terrible time later on. But for now, we have to repeat the rolling out process with another piece of our dough. And you can see how as I roll, the dough wants to bounce back a bit. We mitigated this a little with the resting process, but we can't really stop it completely, so just make sure you roll out the edges past that handy circle you've drawn to give you enough size to play with, because you need to place the second piece of rolled out dough on top of our Nutella smeared first piece, and you definitely want it to be big enough. So carefully place the plate on top of the second piece here, taking a bit of time to line it up correctly with the first plate indentation that we made, and press down slightly to make a mark before carefully removing again. And if you've been paying attention, you know what's coming next. Yep, more Nutella, around 2 heaped tablespoons each time, spread around to the plate mark. Add another piece of the rolled out dough on top. The dough is quite manageable, I have to say, but this can still be a little bit tricky, so take your time. There's no prizes for being quick here. Put the plate on again, press down, and then remove carefully. A final layer of our sweet, sweet Nutella, and the final layer of rolled out dough on top to finish. But we do still have a lot of work ahead of us, so don't pat yourselves on the back just yet. The plate goes on one final time, But don't press down this time, because we're going to use this plate to help us cut off the excess dough with a sharp knife. And don't waste this dough. It can be rolled up to make little brioche buns, or you can use it as a draft excluder or wherever. And you can see that my sharp knife hasn't quite cut through the bottom layer there, so you might need to bring in the heavy artillery, and that's just a normal kitchen knife, to finish this cutting stage. And that will leave us with a lovely Nutella triple-decker sandwich type situation. You'll need to place a small cup or glass that's not too tall in the centre now, and the best thing I had for this was an espresso cup, which I centred diligently with the help of my old school ruler. And I've already started the technical bit. We need to make 16 cuts now from the edge of the cup all the way through the dough. So after the first cut, spin the tray around and make another cut on the opposite side. And then cut the dough at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, if the clock analogy helps, but you get the idea. And now the first 4 cuts are done. We need to cut halfway between each of those first 4 cuts to separate the dough into 8 pieces, before cutting each of those 8 pieces in half again. And you will need the sharpest knife you have to do this properly, so I hope you do have a sharp knife like. And here comes the even more technically bit. Pick a wedge of the dough up carefully and twist to the right 1 full rotation, 360 degrees if you want to get all scientific about it, and then lay it down. Carefully pick up the edge of the piece to the left of our twisty piece, and turn that to the left this time, i.e. the opposite direction. Again, 360 degrees, and then we're going to take each piece and turn the edges in towards each other, so they're vertical, and we're going to pinch them together to create this sort of flower shape. And here is the twisting process again, in case you missed it, and you always want to make sure that each individual piece is twisted in the opposite direction to its neighbouring piece. And I'm going to show you that one more time so you don't have to keep rewinding this video. And once you do the final pairing and remove the cup or stubby glass in the middle, your creation should have a star in the middle like this. Which is why another name for this bread is star bread. It's got loads of names, this. Anyway, cover with oiled cling film and let it puff up for around 30 minutes before brushing well with some beaten egg to finish. So yeah, twist bread, star bread, Blumenbrot, which means flour bread, braided Nutella bread. It's got more names than the Tinder Swindler, this bread has. Anyway, in a preheated oven with the fan on at 170 degrees Celsius, that's about 340 Fahrenheit, we need to bake this for 20 minutes, and when it comes out, you'll be amazed to see it looks like this, and that looks pretty damn fantastic to me, I have to say. But we're not quite done yet, because it's nice, I reckon, to brush the finished article with some oil or melted butter to give a show-stopping shine to this Nutella twist, stroke braided, stroke star, stroke God knows what else bread. Oh, I forgot it's also called tear and share bread, and while demonstrating that element, you can see how perfectly baked that is and how easily it just pulls out. Let's have a good close-up of that lamination there, and I just love having a bite of this while it's still warm. Simply stunning Nutella twist bread, and I'm not even going to go through all the other names of it again, because that would be an indulgence, just like this bread. And you lot haven't got all day to listen to me going on, so you can go now. But thanks for watching, everyone, and if I don't see you through the week, I'll see you next Thursday, eh? All right then. Ta-ra.